Welcome to Random Select. Please enjoy.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mario, and I would like to welcome you into another episode of Random Select. And in this episode, I would like to talk about how we see things. And depending on your life experiences and depending on your perspective, it definitely changes your outlook on a situation or a person. Depending on what we go through is how we're going to develop either hard spots or soft spots for people, places, situations, and things. And this is like a personal story for me, a little personal journey that I had to deal with. And it really changed how I view stuff because I never realized that no matter how far you go in life, how old you get, certain things get stuck in time. Certain things get frozen, and that's the way you remember them no matter what. And this is all brought about because I went back to to the area that I grew up in. And I saw a person that was still there, in that same area, and they didn't even recognize me. And this person used to be there, when I was 12 years old. I'm 42 now, and I went up to him and I was like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? And he said, hey, young blood, I don't want no trouble. So go away from me. And I'm like, wow, he don't even recognize me. And I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm not trying to start any trouble. I'm just speaking to you, trying to see what's going on with you. He said, I'm doing fine. He said, if you really want to know what's going on with me, give me a couple bucks and then I'll be fine after that. So I'm looking at him, looking right in his face, looking in his eyes, and he looking back at me, and he really don't know me. And I'm like, dude, you don't know who me? He was like, no, young blood, I don't know you, And I was like, you know me. I say, this is Mario. This is Marianne's boy. And he looked and his face lit up. He had this bright joy. Like, this is the best joy he's had in a long time. This is the only joy he's had in a long time. And I mean, he had the biggest smile ever. He just came up and he hugged me and was like, boy, I haven't seen you in a long time. Now, me, with all my preconceived notions, I've been around the hood. I know the signs. I know that life wasn't right for him. I know that life ain't, been good for him. And he smelt a certain way and he hugged me. And I'm thinking like, wow, you're kind of dirty. Back up off me, But the way that I felt about him, overrid how I was feeling at the time. So I was like, what's going on with you? He was like, man, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so glad, wow, it's been forever. I want you to meet someone. I want you to come back around to where I'm living, and I want you to meet this lady. And it was his rooming house lady, the lady that runs the rooming house, right? So let me just give you a little history on this guy. This guy, when I was 12 years old, would come up to me, and he had this George Jefferson type walk. He just walked in such a way that people named him Thoroughbred because of the way he walked. He walked with such confidence, like he know that, yeah, I got my stuff together. Yeah, I'm taking care of business. He walked like he was the man, Y'all know what I'm talking about, that George Jefferson walk. And he would always come to me and say, hey, Mario, come here. What you doing out here? You ain't out here causing no trouble. And I was like, no, I'm just out here playing. He was like, you got any money in your pocket? I was like, no, I don't have any money. He was like, let me tell you something. A man should always keep a couple bucks in his pocket. He's like, here's a couple bucks. You go spend one and you keep one in your pocket, cause a man should never be broke. I'm like, okay, all right. And at 12 years old, none of this sunk in. But he would always have kind words to say. He was one of the few men in the hood that I saw that was working on a regular basis, had a wife taking care, his kids. His daughter was, grown at the time, older than me. And for the life of me, I never could understand what he saw in me that made him want to just take me under his wing and teach me life lessons. And if you guys ever grew up in the McDonough Heights area, Grand Park Village, Four Seasons, area, we would always go to the store. That's what we call it. Not the store, the store. And by that, we meant up to Tanner's, Good Buddies, Third World, Wash House, And he would always say, come walk with me, Mario, And even though my name is Mario, everybody in the hood either decided to call me Mario or Mario. He would always say, come walk with me. And doing those walks to the store, we would talk, and he would just teach me life lessons and tell me stuff. And he told me one day, he said that at some point in your life, you're going to have to make a decision whether you want to have friends or you want to go to jail. And you're going to have to make that choice, because one day your friends are going to do something where they're going to make you pick them, or you're going to either keep your mouth closed or you're going to go to jail. He was like, you want trouble or you want friends? And at the time, I'm like, this is just an old dude talking, it don't matter. But I mean, he was right. At some point, I had to choose, because as I got older, my friends started getting in trouble. And I was like, you know what? I remember him telling me this, so I decided not to. A lot of times they say, hey, I'm going down to Thomasville to Port. And I'm like, all right, see y'all when y'all get back. I'm going over to, Four Seasons to shoot ball, or a week walking over to Lila Valley, to go to a Port. And I'm like, all right, I'll see y'all when y'all get back. And each and every time when they would come back, the next day when we go to school or something like that, they would always have a story to tell, or something happened. So he was absolutely right. At some point, you were going to have to make a decision whether you want friends or trouble. So in those little walks to the store, he would teach me all type of stuff. He would walk to the store. He would go in, buy his beer, ask me if I want a bag of chips or something like that. Tell me pick up anything I pretty much wanted. Then on the way back, he would talk to me some more and just tell me life stuff. And then when we get back to where we started at, he was like, all right, I think you're getting it. All right, go ahead and play with your friends, right? So I would do that, And those were the days of the Candy Lady. Yeah, y'all remember the Candy Lady. If you grew up in, a hood, the Candy Lady was everything. So if he gave me $1, $2, one to keep and the one to save, for $1, I could go down to Miss Christine. God bless the dead. Miss Christine have no clue how she, influenced a generation. Maybe we was the last true Candy Lady generation. But I would go there, and buy me stuff, He taught me the value of money, like don't rush out to spend your money, He was like, you keep spending one and you keep one, keep one in your pocket, you save. Because at some point he was like, it's going to be a rainy day. It's not going to always be sunny. And I'm like, I didn't understand any of this. I didn't get any of this at the time. But it's amazing how everything he taught me, I remember, So he would always say to me, like, pull on this cigarette, blow out. Look, at some point, you're going to want to get away from this hood. You're not going to want to live here forever. He's like, man, ain't nothing but drugs and sex and crime here. And if you don't be careful, it'll swoop you up and eat you up and swallow you whole and make you where you won't be able to recognize yourself. Say stuff to me like that. And I'm telling you, at 12, I could not get it. I could not understand. I just didn't know for the life of me why. I thought this man was just the weirdest person ever. But as long as he was giving me those $2, or, it was almost like he was paying me to walk and talk with him, I didn't care, as long as it kept me a little money in my pocket. But a weird thing happened along the way. I would start walking to the store with him just to listen to him talk, and wouldn't even want the money. He would give it, but I would have not been mad if he didn't offer it. So if you fast forward that story to about, now this was when I was 12, if you fast forward, I knew him all throughout high school. He maintained. And when I graduated high school, I came back to see my auntie, and I was like, hey, what's going on? When last time y'all saw Thoroughbred? They was like, oh, Thoroughbred, he's still around smoking that crack. I said, what? I said, no, Thoroughbred, he go to work, he do all that. He was like, you been gone a long time, Thoroughbred on that crack. He's smoking it with everybody else. And just to show us, she said that about 10 minutes later, he came strolling around the corner with the rest of the junkies and the crack addicts that used to hang out at my auntie house, And I couldn't believe it. And the first thing he asked me, hey, Mario, let me get a couple bucks, let me hold a couple bucks. And I said to him sarcastically, yeah, man, always supposed to have a couple bucks in his pocket, right? He started laughing, like, oh, you remember what I taught you, huh? I said, yeah. And then we had this awkward pause between us because, for obvious reasons, he didn't have the money, and it's almost like the student became the teacher and the teacher became the student. It was a sad, humble, and somber moment when I came to the realization that God, this guy who taught me all these base core foundations, is now like what he told me. He told me that this hood will have a way of swallowing you up, eating you whole, getting its grips in you and never letting go. And I'm sitting here looking at him thinking, damn, is that what happened to you? It got its hooks in you, swallow you up whole, and now it won't let you go. So I just couldn't believe it, So now I walking with him, and he's taking me to the his landlady's house. And when he got there, he was so happy. He was like, "Hey, I want you to meet here. This is Mario. I helped raise this boy. Helped raise him from when he was a boy. Since he was, about 10, 12. I said, yeah, about 12. And she's looking at me like, what is he doing in this house? And is that one of your cracked out junkie friends too? He hit a rob or something like that. You should just sort of look on her face. She had this look like, yeah, that's cool, but yeah, get the hell out of my house. If you want to talk, go out there and stand on the porch and talk. She looked like one of those old school black ladies where you're not allowed to come in my house. You stand out on the porch and talk. But he was just so happy and explaining to her, how he taught me this and how he taught me that, And she still had this look like, I don't get it. I don't get what's the correlation between you look like a big, strong, got it together type guy. What are you doing with this guy here? So I said, okay, thoroughbred, look, sit down for a minute, cool down, and let me talk to her out on the porch, So we went out, and I said to her, ma'am, I know you see him one way, but let me tell you, before this, there was a strong, proud black man who took care of his wife and took care of his family. And he taught me a lot, and for whatever reason he decided to take me under his wings and teach me life lessons. And I'm just saying, he didn't always used to be this, and I just felt, a part of me felt that I had to tell this lady this so she couldn't just look down at him. I felt that I had to just tell her. So she looked at me and said, baby, that's all good, and I hear what you're saying, but just in case your glasses are broke, baby, what you looking at in there is a junkie, and that's all he is, and that's all he ever gonna be. And when she said that, it was like a kick in the head, a kick in the gut, a real reality jolt, a real reality shot. It brought me back to a time when I was like, wow, this is the man who tried to persuade me not to do that, And I said, ma'am, that may be, but I don't see him that way. When I look at him as thoroughbred. The proud walking man who always had a kind word to say to me, always let me know how to do things the right way. And for whatever reason, I needed him just as much as he needed me. I don't know what void for him that I filled. Maybe he never had a son and he wished that I would have been his son. But I know he filled the void for me, for my father not being around. He filled that void for me, that male actually took interest in me and wanted to spend some time with me to teach me something other than how to get a woman and how to game something, how to hustle, how to steal, how to lie, how to cheat. Taught me something positive. He filled a void in me that to this day sometimes I still feel that it's there. But as a grown man, I understand it and I know how to cope with it. So when I look at him, I don't see what she sees. I see a man who always told me that a man keep a couple bucks in his pocket. And to this day, I still believe in that philosophy. Everybody using, debit cards, and nobody carries cash anymore. I still use my debit card, but I always keep like a $5, $10, $20 bill in my pocket cash, because I just really adopted his attitude that a man should always keep cash, in his pocket. I adopted his attitude that if you're going to spend one, you save one, so you're going to have rainy days. And he always told me that it's not going to always be, the sun not going to always be shining out here, Mario. So when I look at him, Yes, I know reality is, yes, that he's a junkie. Yes, he is a substance abuser. Yes, he does drugs. Yes, his life is all messed up. But when I look at him, that's not what I see. And the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes you're going to have issues and things that go on in your life and people not going to understand it. People going to say, why you keep giving that person a chance? Why you keep going over there? Why you keep doing this? And for the life of them, they're not going to understand how you see it. But I'm here to tell you, I do. I get it now. I understand how you see that situation. I understand why is it like that. Because this lady could not see what I was trying to make her to see. I mean, and she told me with a straight face, baby, I don't know what you see. Your glasses might be broken, but baby, what I see in there's a junkie. That's all he is, and that's all he's ever gonna be. And I'm here to tell you, lady, I disagree with you. That's what he is now. He wasn't always that. So for all y'all people out there who got things in your life that people just can't understand why you see it that way, just know I do. And I want to leave it right there. Yeah, I want to leave it right there and just to ask you guys, how do you see things? You know? How do you really see things? All right. I want to thank you guys for letting me indulge again. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Random Select. I want you guys to go to the website, therandomselect.com, support Carlotta in writing her blogs. I write blogs, but Carlotta does the heavy lifting. She does the bulk of the work. So please go there, subscribe, leave a comment, go to the YouTube channel, listen to the podcast, subscribe, leave a comment. We're everywhere social media is at, guys. So if you just type in Random Select, you will find us somewhere. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Google Play Music, we're on TuneIn Radios. I mean, we're everywhere, guys. So there's no excuse why you can't find us. With that being said, the Random Select is out.
You have been listening to Random Select. Thank you. Goodbye.